Okay, we are picking up on Mem Zayin Amud Beis. We are 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 6 lines from the top, and again, right now the Gemara is going through. It's going through the Mishnah, which had said that there were different groups of people that we were either that you could make a mezumin with them, and that was a surprise. And now the Gemara is going to. The Mishnah is going to explain. The Gemara is going to explain the Mishnah, the things that you would not be able to make a mezumin with them. So the Mishnah says it says. Hasham Shalcha Kazayas, we did that. Vakusi Mizamna love. So we're starting at the two dots that if a kusi, you are able to make a mezumin with him. So the Gemara asks, why are you able to make a mezumin together with a kusi? And again, a kusi was someone that the status of their conversion was questionable. They had converted, but it was a question why they had converted. They felt like they were doing it out of fear. So there was always a halacha question with them if they were considered to be real Jews or not. So the question's asked, why are you able to make a zim with them? Lo yehei ela am aretz. They should be no better than an am aretz. V'tanya em zam al said we don't make a mezumin with an am aretz. So why is it that the kusi would be any better that you have to say it? So our answer is Abai Yamar Bekusi Chaver. We're speaking about, because again, the reason why you're not supposed to make three Amaratzim, 3 people who are not learned, are able to make a mezumin together. It's just inappropriate if you have like Talmidei Chachamim who are making a mezumin together with people that are not Talmidei Chachamim, because then it's an imbalance. The whole idea of a zimun is that you're supposed to be praising Hashem, and if you have people that are on this unequal balance because they're not learned, that they never took the time to really learn, so that's kind of like insulting to Hashem. But if they're together in their own group, they could do it. So the Gemara answers, the first answer, the Gemara says, Abai Yamar Bekusi Chaver. We're talking about, even though he's a kusi, but he was a Talmid Chacham. So he was learned. So therefore, there was nothing inappropriate. He's able to join up together with other Talmidei Chachamim to make a zimun. Rabba Amar Afilu Tema Bekusi Amaretz. You can even say it's talking about a Kusi Amaretz, but the question is, what is the definition? How are we defining what is considered to be an Amaretz? Like, we always kind of think of an Amaretz as someone that's that they never learned anything, they're ignorant, but the Gemara is going to explain now that there's different levels of what was considered to be an Amaretz, which quite frankly, I think that we would have been considered to be Amaratzim back in the day. When we see what the explanation of the Gemara is, we would have considered to be Amaratzim probably for what the standards are. Now what is it? We're talking about an Amaretz that argued that Reb Meir and the Rabbanan argued about what is the definition of Amaretz. What was it? Tanya, because we learned in a Brisa, Ezu Amaretz, what is considered to be a person who's an Amaretz? Kol she'eino ochel chulin b'tahara. That in those days, everyone was very makbid that they would eat not everyone. The Tum and Tahara played a much bigger role back in the days of the Beis HaMikdash than it does now. Now it's pretty much non-existent. But back then, people were very careful about Tum and Tahara because there were certain times that they would not be able to eat karbanos or go into the Beis HaMikdash if they were tamei. So we're talking about people that, according to Reb Meir, what is considered to be an Amaretz, that there were people who, any food that they were eating, no matter what it was, they would always make sure that they were considered to be tahar. They would be very careful never to be tamei when they were eating even ordinary food. So that is a very high standard of Amaratzis. Like, again, I wouldn't have done that. I'm saying, I would have been eating, if I would have been tummy, I still would have had my hot dog and hamburger. It's not a problem, except that if I was doing something that was more of a kadosh nature, so then I would go to the mikvah, I would make myself tahar, but I wouldn't have a problem eating food on a regular basis when I was tummy. The Chachamim Omrim, Kol she'einu b'ma'aser preos of karai, that the Amaretz is someone that doesn't give meiser properly. So v'hani kusai ashuri mashri kedachazi. But the kusim, when they do give off meiser, they do to meiser. Why? Because the things that they didn't believe in was Torah Shabbal Peh, but it was in Torah Shabbal Peh. Torah Shabbat they were very careful on. So they were very, very careful about the mitzvah of taking off trumas and maestros. Mizhar Zahiri, that whatever was written in the Torah, they're very careful about. That any mitzvah that the kusim grabbed onto, meaning that they felt like that was an accepted mitzvah from the Torah, that was something that they were very careful with. So therefore, when the Mishnah says that you're able to make a zimun with kusim, these are the kusim that we're talking about, not people that were ignorant, didn't know anything. We're talking about people that were very learned in particular areas, and those areas you're able to make a zimun with them. So now the Gemara is going to go, now, just because we talked about Amaretz, the Gemara is going to give a little bit more definitions of what makes up an Amaretz. Tan Rabbanon, Ezu Amaretz, who is considered to be an Amaretz, Kol she'eino koreh kriya shma arvis v'shachris. Anyone who doesn't say Shema in the evening and in the morning is an Amma Aretz. Divrei Rebbe Eliezer, Yeshua Omer, Kol she'eino miach tefillin, if someone doesn't put on tefillin every day, he's considered to be an Amma Aretz. Ben Azai Omer, Kol she'ein lo tzitzis bevigdal, someone who doesn't have tzitzis on his clothing, that's an Amma Aretz. And Rav Nassan Omer, Kol she'ein mezuzah al pischa, if he doesn't have a mezuzah on his doorway, he's considered to be an Amma Aretz. Rav Nassan Bar Yosef Omer, Kol she'esh shalbanim ve'einu megadol m'talmud Torah, then that is considered to be an Amma Aretz. And so all these things are talking about that basically they don't practice Jewish life properly. They don't put on tefillin. They don't say Kriya Shema. They don't have a mezuzah on their door. They don't wear tzitzis when they're supposed to be wearing tzitzis. They don't even if they're doing these things when it comes to raising their children, they're not raising their children the proper way that they should be following to do Torah mitzvos. So all those people are considered to be an Amma Aretz. And Acheirim Omrim afilu kara v'shana v'lo shimish Talmidei Chachamim. If someone did learn, okay, he was a Talmid Chacham, but he did not serve Talmidei Chachamim, which means that he did not. And the explanation that's given here is talking about that he did not serve the Talmidei Chachamim so that he could learn for them because you can't learn halacha just from learning Chumash Mishnayos. You have to have the Gemara also. The Gemara is what goes through the back and forth, the questions and answers, and then we figure out from there what the halacha is. So if someone was not Mishamish Talmidei Chachamim, if he didn't serve them to hang out with them to be able to understand how they do things, then even if he was learned, then that's considered to be an Amma Aretz. Also, Hariz Amma Aretz. Rav Huna halacha kachreim, that is the definition of an Amma Aretz. It's someone that is not Mishamish Talmidei Chachamim, he's considered to be an Amma Aretz. But halacha l'maisa though, we paskin that we're not considered Talmidei Chachamim now. This whole thing of making a zin with Amma Aretz is if you're a Talmid Chacham. We are not considered Talmidei Chachamim now, so it's okay, don't get up at Shabbos lunch today and say can't make a zimun because you guys are Amaratzim. You're able to do it. It's not a problem. Okay, so there's a story now about someone who was learned but had not been mishamish Talmidei Chachamim. Rami Bar Chama lo azman alei Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa. Rami Bar Chama did not include Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa in the zimun that he was making. So. The Tani Sifra v'Sifri v'Hilchasa, even though he had learned Sifra and Sifri and Mishnayos, but he had not been Mishamish Talmid Chacham, he hadn't served by a Talmid Chacham, so therefore he did not include him in his zimun. And then he died at a younger age. Kinach Nashvi Rami Rachama passed away. Amar Rava Lo Nach Nashvi Rami Rachama Elo Delo Azman Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa. The only reason why he died younger is because he did not include Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa to make a zimun with him. So the Gemara asks, why was that a problem? Well, Tani, we just said a couple lines ago, Acheirim Omrim, Afilu Kara V'Shana V'lo Shimish Talmidei Chachamim, Haray Zamar, said if someone was learned, but he was not Mishamish Talmidei Chachamim, then you don't make a zimun with them. So what's the problem that Rami Bar Chama did that he did not include a zimun with him? If Menashe bar Tachlifa did not, he learned Sifra and Sifri Mishnayos, but he had not been Mishamish Talmid Chacham. So our answer is Shani Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa, he was different. To Mashmalu Rabbanan, that he did he did serve Talmidei Chachamim, except Rami Bar Chama who delo daka basri, but Rami Bar Chama did not check out to see if he was someone that had served Talmidei Chacham. So he actually made a mistake in not including him with the zimun, and he should have done it. Lishna Achrina, another version of the story, the Shama Shmaitzim Mepume de Rabbanim Megarazu, that really Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa, even though he wasn't Mishamish Talmidei Chachamim, but he did speak with them, and he did get the bottom line halacha of what we paskin when it comes to all these different questions. Ketsurim Rabbanim Dami, so he was considered to be a Talmid Chacham, and therefore it would have been fitting for him to be included in a zimun. Okay, next. So next thing the Mishnah talked about, that it said that we don't make a zimun if someone ate foods that are inappropriate for him. Like what? Achal tevel u'maiser, if you ate tevel and maiser, then you're not able to make a zimun on that. So Gemara asks, tevel pshita. Of course you're not able to make a zimun on that. It's pashut that it's not because you ate food that's not appropriate. So Gemara answers, and again, remember last time we talked about that even though you would make a bracha on it, according to the Ravid, you would make a bracha if you eat something that's inappropriate, but you still wouldn't make a zimun for it, because that's like blasphemy to say, oh, we're going to praise you, Hashem, by getting together not to make a zimun. So my answer is, Latzricha, the tevel midrabanan. We're not talking about tevel doraisa, we're talking about tevel dorabanan. That really doraisa, there was no problem with the food at all. It's just the Rabbanan had said that you had to take off meiser on this particular food. And what food are we talking about? Heichi dami, what is a food that would be considered that you have tevel dorabanan? My answer is, if you have food that was growing in a flower pot that didn't have holes in it. Because Allah is that meiser has to be something that grows from the ground. So if you have a pot that doesn't have holes under it, it's not getting any nourishment from the ground. It may have dirt or soil in there that's nourishing it, but that's not considered to be d'oraisa. You don't have to take meiser on that. But Rabbanan, you do have to do it. And therefore, we're saying that if you had tevel, if you ate this kind of food, you would not make a zimun in that situation, even though you might think it's a tevel drabanan, you might think, well, maybe we should make a zimun on it. So the Mishnah is telling you that you don't make a zimun in that case either. The next case that the Mishnah brought down was Meiser Rishon. We said that if you have Meiser Rishon that truma had not been taken off on it, then you would not make a zimun on that either. So Gemara asks again, Pshita, why would you think that you would be able to do it? So Gemara says, and this is just a repeat of what the Gemara we said last night, Lo tzricha kagon shektimu b'keri. We're talking about where the Levi jumped ahead of the Kohen and he took the food. Remember that the food is not obligated to take off truma until it's already been taken out of the husks and it's been smoothed out. So if the Levi jumped ahead of the Kohen after it had been smoothed out and it had been taken out, but he went ahead and he took it before the Kohen did, so you might say like it was, like we said earlier, like we said before, that it's not considered to be tevel until the Truma Gadol is separated, and therefore even though the halacha is, as we said last night, that if a Levi takes takes food before there was an obligation to give it to the Kohen, he does not then give Truma Meiser on that. He does not have to give it. But if the obligation already fell on to give it to the Kohen, and the Levi jumped ahead and jumped into the pile and took his 10% at that point, then you would have to give the food to the Kohen. And this kind of food, if he was eating from it, you would not join together for a zimun. The next case that the Mishnah brought down, Meiser Sheni, said that if you have Meiser Sheni that was not redeemed properly, then you're not going to make a zimun on it. So Gemara asks Pshita, why would you think you would be able to? Gemara answers, Lo tzricha sheniftu v'lo niftu kilchasan, that it was redeemed, but it was not redeemed properly. So what does that mean? Because again, the halacha is that you're supposed to take and you're supposed to put the money on a coin. You take the produce that you don't want to schlep down to Yerushalayim with you. You redeem it with money, and you take that money, and then you buy the food in Yerushalayim, and then you could eat the food however you want. So what did you do here? The case with Meiser Sheni, Kagon Shepado Al Gabi Asimon, that you redeemed the produce with a slug. In other words, you didn't use a real minted coin. You took like a coin that had value because it was metal, but it didn't have an image on it. And Rachmana Amar v'tzarta kesef biyadcha. The pasuk says that you're supposed to tie the money up together, and it uses the word tzarta with kesef sheyesh alav tzura. There has to be money that has an image printed on it, and we're talking about where you redeemed the meiser with a slug that did not have an image on it. And what was the other case for hektish that you redeemed improperly? The Gemara says hektish shechil lo agabi karka lo padu b'kesef. The halacha is you're supposed to redeem hektish. You're supposed to use it with movable property, with money. And instead, what he did is he did it and he redeemed it with land, with property. Rachmana Amar, the Torah said, the pasuk says, "V'nosata kesef b'kamla." You're supposed to give the money, and then you'll be able to use it. And here he put it on property. So even though he redeemed it, but he redeemed it improperly because he didn't do it the way that he was supposed to. The next part of the Mishnah said, if a shamish ate less than a kazayas, he's not able to join together in the zimun. So again, the Gemara asks, Pshita, that's pashu. Why would you think that he would be able to? So the Gemara answers, I did the tanu reisha kazayas, tanu seifa pachas mikazayas. Really, all the other cases we had reasons why I was bringing them down, but for this, it really didn't need to say it. It was just following the way the wording of the Mishnah. First half of the Mishnah said that if you ate a kazayas, he could join with them. So the second half of the Mishnah says that if he didn't eat a kazayas, he doesn't join with them. But you're right, it's pashut that he would not be able to do it. Like there's not even a havamina to say that he would be able to do it. Okay, let's do some more. The Gemara says, that you are not able to make a mezumin with a non-Jew. So the Gemara asks, Pshita, why would you think that you would be able to make a mezumin with a non-Jew? My answer is, beger shema v'lo tavo. We're talking about a ger, that the process when someone would be megayer is that first he would do milah, they would circumcise him, and then he would do tefillah. Okay, so we're talking about that he did the first half. He already had the bris milah that was done to him, but he had not yet gone to the mikvah. To Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav Yochanan, la'olam eino ger ad shima v'yitbal, that a person is not considered to be a full-fledged ger until he had the milah and he went to the mikvah. And as long as he hasn't gone to the mikveh yet, he's still not considered to be a full-fledged Jew. So we're talking about, when we say that you can't make a zimon with a nachri, we're talking about someone that was already in the process of converting to Judaism, and he'd already done the bris milah, which in my mind, that is a major commitment. But he did not do the tefillah, so until he does the tefillah, he's not able to be counted as part of the mezuzah. Next thing the Mishnah said was Nashim Avadim Ketanim Ein Mizanim Lam, that you cannot make a Zimon together with Nashim Avadim Ketanim. Again, we did say that they're able to do it on their own, but we're not able to combine with them. So Gemara says, Amar Ravasi Katan Amuppa Barisa Mizanulav, that if you have you are able to make a Zimon, if you the way the Gemara understand, if you have a baby that's in the cradle and you have two other people, you are able to make a Zimon with that baby. So Gemara asks, we have in our Mishnah says specifically that you cannot make a zimun if you have children. So why is it that if a baby's in the cradle, you're able to do it? So Gemara says, Hu Damar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he says like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Damar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Afal Pisha Amru, Katan Hamota Barisa, Ein Mizamnolav, that if you have a katan that is in literally resting in the cradle, you're not able to make a zimun with him. But aval osin also sniff lasar, you're able to do it. It's very interesting that, because we say that there's a mezuzah consists of, you can either have 3 or you could have 10. So even though for 3 we would not count a baby in a cradle, the Gemara is taking on, which is not how we paskin, but the Gemara is taking on, is thinking that if you would have 9 men and you would have an infant in a cradle, it would be like, yeah, that's like 10 people. There's 10 people there, and you'd be able to make a zimon with the 9 people and the baby.
Male or female baby?
I'm going to go with male, but I don't know. But I'm going to assume male. The Gemara, because if it was a female, then you got 2 problems, because we don't do it with nashim, right, and ketanim. So I would think that we'll be talking about a male, but that's right. Yeah, listen to your brother. Yeah, listen to your brother. He knows. Yeah. Let's do one more piece here. V'am Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Tisha ve'eved mitzarfin. If you have 9 people and an eved Kanani. Again, the halach of an Eved Kanani is someone that he has some mitzvahs that he's supposed to be keeping, but he's not considered to be a full-fledged Jew. So if you have 9 people and an Eved Kanani, then they are able to form together to form a minyan. The Gemara says, Meisvei, Ma'is Rebbe Eliezer, there's a story with Rebbe Eliezer, Shenichnas Beis HaKnesses, he came into Shuv, he didn't find 10 people there, he didn't have a minyan. So what did he do? V'shichrer Avdo, v'hishlimu l'asari, he freed his slave, and he granted him his freedom, and he counted him now, because once he's freed, now he has the halachic status of a Jew. So he freed him, and so that he could be part of the minyan. So we're going to ask, shichur in, lo shichur lo, but that's mashma, that only if he freed him, he'd be able to count as part of the minyan. But if he didn't free him, then he would not be able to count him for the minyan. And we just said before that if you have tisha ve'eved mitzarfin, that they are able to combine. So why did he have to free him? Why didn't he just count him with the minyan of 10, with the other 9 people? So Gemara answers, tri itzrichu. We needed it because they needed 2 people. He came into shul, there were only 8 people there. He had 2 servants with him. So Shechur Chad, he freed one of them, and the other one, V'nafik Mechad, and then the other one he had, he was doing, like we said, that you're able to mitzaref him with the 9. So he had 2 people, so really, he really did, one of them was counting, like we had said before, that it was being mitzaref with the minyan. So Gemara asks, how could you do that? We'll finish up with this. V'amar Rav Yehuda, kol meshachar avdo over ba'aseh. Whoever frees his slave is over in the aseh. Shneimar lo olam b'hem tavod. It says that you're supposed to work with them forever. So he's being over an aseh. If he frees a slave, then he's being over an aseh, and it's going to be. And the Gemara says, mitzvah ba'avera, and you're going to be doing a mitzvah ba'avera because you're freeing the slave. You're being over an essay in order to make a minyan. So how could you do that? Gemara answers mitzvah d'rabim shiny, that no, you're right. If it would have just been for something for individual, then you wouldn't have done it. But when you have a tzibur that's talking about, so then the schus of the tzibur being able to be kind of mitzvah, that's going to override the lo'olam b'hem tavodu, and therefore it's not mitzvah ba'aver because the rabbim kind of negate out that essay that he has that you're not supposed to free him. Okay, we will stop here. Next week, I think we're going to send out, first of all, I've